Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever, tried to have a real conversation with a younger person, a child, a teen, and felt like you were just trying to decode ancient hieroglyphics with emojis and memes.
Yeah, and the dramatic silence.
Yes, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place.
It's such a common feeling because today, really getting our kids requires more than just listening to their words. Our whole mission in this deep dive is to shortcut that learning curve.
Right.
We're going to focus on decoding their real intent by looking at the research on emotional, developmental, and, of course, digital cues.
We've got the blueprints. This is not just about what bro means this week. It's about seeing the intent underneath so you can build a stronger, more trusting connection.
Let's start by defining what we even mean by this multi-layered language. A child's communication is, well, it's so much broader than just verbal speech. It really covers 4 major areas.
Okay, let's break those down. What are these 4 pillars?
So first, there's emotional language. This is often their main channel, especially when they're stressed. Then, the huge one. Digital language, everything happening over text and social media.
Can't ignore that one.
Absolutely not. Third is classic body language, the slouch, the eye roll, you know the drill. And fourth, the one that drives parents crazy. The language of silence.
Silence, yes. The ultimate conversation killer. You ask, how was your day? And you get back, fine.
Or good.
And the conversation is officially dead on arrival.
And that minimal response, or even no response, it communicates volumes. The challenge is looking past the surface. Thomas Gordon, who was a pioneer in family communication, he established this principle way back in 1970.
What was that?
That children express themselves much more through their emotions than through direct words. And the key strategy he found to unlock that is active listening.
We hear that term active listening a lot, but what does it really mean in practice? I think a lot of us, as parents, our first instinct is to just jump in and solve the problem.
And that's the impulse we have to fight. We jump to problem solving because it feels productive, right? But when we do that, we completely bypass the emotional layer where the real message is living.
So by offering a solution right away, we're kind of saying, your feeling doesn't matter, let's just fix this.
Exactly. You inadvertently tell the child, your feeling is irrelevant. The outcome is what matters.
Which means we're so busy giving advice that we miss the actual plea for connection.
Precisely. I mean, think about the classic example. A young child doesn't come up to you and say, I require 20 minutes of your dedicated screen-free attention to refill my emotional battery.
No. They say, I'm bored, usually with a big sigh, and they just slump over.
And the real emotional translation of that is, can you spend some focused time with me? I need to connect. We have to focus on the emotional need, not the literal words.
That sets the stage perfectly. Okay, let's move on from the framework and dive into the actual science. What does the research tell us about how this communication changes as kids grow?
This is where it gets really interesting because each developmental stage completely changes how we should approach them.
So where do we start?
We start with young children and the power of gestures. Michael Tomasello's research from 2008 showed how crucial gestures are for communicating their intention and emotion long before their verbal skills are fully there.
So, like if a toddler is frowning and just jamming a square block into a round hole over and over,
Right.
that gesture is the communication. They're non-verbally saying, help me please. But how does that help us when they're older and can talk?
It helps because it reminds us to keep observing. Even when they become verbal, those gestures, the slump in the shoulders, the tapping foot, avoiding eye contact, that remains the honest, unfiltered truth of what's going on inside. It teaches us to look first, then listen.
Got it. Okay, let's fast forward a bit to the preteen years.
Exactly. So next up is pre-adolescence, negotiating independence. Laurence Steinberg's work from 2014 explains that pre-adolescents are all about seeking autonomy. And that need, it just fundamentally changes their communication style.
And this is when you start hearing that classic phrase, but you just don't understand.
That phrase is so layered. It's partly a declaration of their independence, but you know what? It's also a test.
A test of what?
They're testing you. They're asking, do you respect that my perspective is now separate from yours? If you rush in to fix it or minimize it, you fail the test. If you validate it, you build trust.
That leads us right into the teenage years and what the American Psychological Association found in their 2019 research.
Yes, the phase of layered communication. The APA found that adolescents prioritize emotional validation way more than they do practical solutions. Everything is filtered through this really dense, sensitive emotional layer.
Which means when they say, no one understands me, They aren't necessarily asking for a step-by-step plan to fix their drama.
Not at all. They are seeking immediate emotional empathy. They just need to feel seen. The main thing they need to hear is, wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating. I hear you. That validation is the solution, at least for the emotional part.
And finally, the big one we can't ignore. Digital language is core, not extra.
Dana Boyd's 2014 research was critical here. She showed that social media and digital platforms are absolutely central to their social lives. They aren't just an extra activity they can easily put down.
It's where their social world is.
It's the environment where so much of their identity formation and communication happens, so when they send you a very specific meme, that is a genuine communication. We can't just dismiss it as noise.
We have to see it as valid.
Absolutely. To ignore it is to ignore their social reality.
Okay, we've covered the framework, we've got the research. Now let's get practical. For everyone listening, what are the top 5 strategies we can start using right away?
Let's focus on actionable steps you can take, pulled right from these sources. TIP 1. Listen to what they don't say. This goes right back to Gordon's work on how powerful silence and emotion are.
The silences communicate. The short answers communicate. But what if they just totally withdraw? What if trying that active listening script just feels awkward or forced?
Well, the goal isn't an immediate breakthrough. The goal is consistency. You have to maintain the connection while also respecting their need for privacy. If they give you an "I don't know" or a sigh followed by nothing, you need a response that invites them to talk without demanding it.
Right. Not putting them on the spot.
So the active listening script for this would be something like, "It seems like something's bothering you, and I can see you need some space. I just want you to know I'm here. Do you want to talk about it when you're ready?"
I like that because it acknowledges what you're seeing without forcing a confession out of them.
Exactly. Okay, tip P2. Enter their digital world without judgment.
This one feels like the hardest for so many parents. How do we show genuine curiosity when their digital world feels so alien or maybe even negative?
You don't have to adopt their slang. Please don't try to be hip. That never ends well.
Yeah, that backfires.
Always. The key is to be interested in the way they communicate. You ask questions about the culture, not moralizing about the content, at least not at first. Ask things like, what does that new acronym mean? Or, help me understand why that meme is so funny right now. This focuses on understanding their world, which Steinberg's research confirms makes them way more open emotionally.
They feel seen as a person in a complex world, not a subject you're investigating.
Exactly. Okay, tip P3, ritualize communication.
So, establishing fixed, low-pressure times to connect, does this have to be some big formal thing?
No, not at all. Consistency is way more important than how big the event is. It could be simple things like talking during dinner, walking the dog together, or just a 10-minute screen-free chat before bed. It just has to be predictable.
And the Harvard Family Research Project found that these kinds of consistent rituals are proven to strengthen trust over time. They create an expectation that connection will happen.
Exactly. Then there's tip P4, implement the 3.1 rule.
This comes from Gottman and Levinson's work on marriage, right? How does that apply here?
It applies because both relationships are built on emotional trust. The idea is that for every single time you have to correct them or critique them, you need to provide 3 positive, affirming interactions to balance it out.
So you're making emotional deposits to balance the withdrawal.
You got it. And the positive interactions can't just be "good job." They should be things like using humor, giving specific recognition for something they did, or just showing sincere affection. It stops the relationship from just being about rules and demands.
That makes a lot of sense.
What's the last one?
TIP 5. Validate before responding.
Is this that non-negotiable emotional bridge we talked about earlier?
Yes. Before you offer any advice, before you give a counterpoint, you have to validate the emotion they just shared. Marsha Linehan's work showed this. Emotional validation literally calms the brain's fight-or-flight response.
So when they feel heard, the rational part of their brain can actually engage.
Right. And the scripts are simple. That must have been really hard. Or, I can see why you're so frustrated. Even just, that sounds like a huge weight on your shoulders. That validation is the bridge. Linehan showed it encourages them to share more because they learn that sharing won't lead to an immediate lecture.
And only once they feel heard can you offer guidance, never before.
We've covered the research and the tips. Now let's have a bit of fun. Let's do some instant translation for a couple of common high-stress scenarios.
I love this. Let's start with the classic phrase that sends a chill down a parent's spine.
Okay, scene 1. The leave me alone decoder. Your child snaps, leave me alone, and storms off to their room.
The literal word is isolation, but the real translation, especially for teens, is something like, I feel totally overwhelmed and I need space to regulate my emotions, but please stay close by in case I need you.
They want the freedom of independence, but the security of knowing you're there. That's such a critical distinction. Okay, now for scene two, the teen dictionary.
A quick glossary: if they text you X or bet, that just means okay or yes. If they call you or anyone bruh, it's completely generic. It's just a filler word.
And what about when they use the word slay? I hear that for everything from an outfit to a test score.
Slay is high praise. It just means excellence, success, doing something perfectly. And when they say something is literal, remember they're just using it to emphasize whatever they're saying. They rarely mean it's factually literal.
Honestly, spending 5 minutes learning this is probably more valuable for connecting than stressing over their algebra homework.
It's definitely more applicable to the human connection part of parenting, which is the whole point. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core message is this. Learning their language isn't about trying to act like them or becoming a TikTok influencer.
It's simpler than that, but it also requires a deeper commitment. It's about cultivating presence, observation, and real connection. It's about seeing that their communication, whether it's a sigh, an eye roll, or a weird emoji, is a genuine attempt to connect.
By consistently focusing on that emotional context we talked about, validating before you advise, and making connection a ritual, you can maintain that foundation of trust that will let you communicate, no matter what new slang or app comes next.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. This has been so helpful.
It's always a pleasure to connect these dots.
Now here is your final thought. To really understand the deep currents of youth culture, ask yourself, or even better, ask your child about a term like skibidi toilet, or whatever the latest seemingly nonsensical thing is. It's not just noise. Understanding why that thing is popular is understanding a vital piece of the world they live in. And that knowledge is power. Go ask the question.